Look at this. So these motherfuckers was ready to book me and shit. I put in there, bottom line up front. My wife used a strap from a screen to choke me, at least attempted by wrapping it around my neck for more than 4 seconds. Right? I left the house so that I could file an official police report because she has been aggressive with me in the past. Now, you know, she whatever she writes, she's gonna win this shit. No matter what the fuck I do. And so I said she choked me with a goddamn thing. Why the fuck you didn't arrest her? Oh, you guys are match. Yeah, you asshole. You wanted to fuck with me. You didn't want to fuck with her. Can't stand the goddamn girl. Now I'm sorry that I'm getting angry. I'm just. Uh-oh. Oh, snaps. Oh, snaps. Oh, snaps. Hold on, let me get this out the way. Let me see. Remove. No, no. There's a speaker view. Hold on. There is a oh yeah, you gotta unmute yourself, I think. Yeah, let me. Yeah, you.
Sorry about that.
Hey, no. You straight. I am capturing audio. There's a way that I can. I gotta. Let me see. I have to work this out. Let me see. Chat remove. No, not remove. Hide.
Let me go.
Yes, there we go. Oh, Otis. Oh. To be sitting on the phone doing the Mad Ellipsis show with the one and only. I'm so excited.
Turn my light on.
You straight. Look, you take your time. I'm capturing audio. We don't have to begin immediately, but I got everything set up. I got audio recording because I don't want to drop. I don't want not one jot or tittle of what Otis got to say.
Oh Lord. I come downstairs get some light.
Well, first of all, you're looking good.
I thank you, brother. I'm exercising a lot.
For real? Is it necessary?
Yeah, man.
Because exercise.
Yes, sir. You see that right there?
Oh yeah, I see. Gotta do it. Gotta do it.
I've been exercising for a minute, but now that I ain't going in the office, it's like, okay, I started, my wife, thank God, bought me a bike from the garage sale for $40 last year.
Ooh,
$40.
Nice.
You know you can't find a bike nowhere, right?
No, exactly.
Now you can't find a bike nowhere. So I just started bike riding around my neighborhood, dude.
Yeah.
In the summertime, and it's like the stuff you do as a kid, you just kind of just lose that as you get an adult, and it's almost like full circle. I'm riding my bike everywhere and stuff like that. Like, man, I ain't gotta pay for gas. I ain't gotta worry about no tickets, get stopped by, speeding.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Distracted driving. So last week it was a little warm. So I've been riding my bike to the barbershop if it's warm. So I've been riding my bike to the barbershop last week, got a helmet, and my barbershop is literally 1.3 miles from my house.
Nice.
12 minutes. 12 minutes there, 12 minutes back.
That's lovely.
I'm like, it's a 5-minute ride. It's a 5-minute drive, and it's a 12-minute bike ride. Now you can get some exercise and go 12 minutes. So you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
but lock it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I can walk. I've done it before, but it's crazy. It's like all the stuff that you do when you grow up in the city of Chicago, when you grow up in the city.
Yeah.
Like you tend to like, man, let me recapture all this stuff when there's quarantine going on because first of all, you and I know gyms are already nasty. You know what I'm saying? Fitness gyms are already nasty. That's before COVID.
I didn't even think, but that's a good point. That's a good point. You're supposed to be using the spray bottle. Don't nobody always use the spray bottle or nothing like that.
Look, from the machines, Matt, to the locker room. People in their shower habits. You know that's already nasty right there.
Oh God, you said in the shower, locker room. Good God, I can't even.
Man, I got a story, dude.
Go ahead, man. Please go into it. This is a locker room or a gym story?
Yes.
Please go into it. Go into it.
Okay, so I'm working pre-COVID. I'm working downtown, Matt. Now I'm gonna have to give you a little visual. So I'm working downtown and I'm at FFC. You ever heard of FFC?
No.
It's called Fitness Fitness Club. It's a expensive fitness place. It's like $80 a month. So this ain't no little.
This is downtown Chicago or close to downtown?
Downtown Chicago at Union Station.
Damn.
It's an FFC there. So it gets a lot of traffic because it's at Union Station. But it costs like $80 a month. So my job was paying for it.
Gotcha.
So ain't no it's a beautiful gym. I'm getting dressed. I done took a shower, everything. Old white man gets on the scale naked, first of all. Now, you don't get on the scale with no underwear. You get on the scale naked. Like, everybody get on the scale with the underwear. This dude gets on here naked. I'm like, dude, seriously? So then he got the hair dryer.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So he got the hair dryer and he going, doing his hair, he got the thing, and I'm looking. Matt, I swear to God, he takes the hair dryer, that's a public hair dryer, and start doing his man parts. All in here. All behind here. And I'm staring and I'm like, you do know that's what people put their hair and stuff at, right? He got the whole brush going in the whole private area, man. I'm like, dude, seriously?
Wait, are you saying there's a brush attached to it, or it's just a regular hair?
No, I'm sorry, not the brush, the hair dryer that dry hair. I'm sorry, so not the brush.
Right. But yeah, he's blowing himself in all.
He doing all this with the hair dryer, his man region, his testicles. I mean, he all in behind the crack. I'm like, seriously?
I mean, you could go into the sauna and dry off like that. In theory, if it was like that. Good God, that's
like, dude,
that's rough.
Come on,
that's rough.
Like, that is just the most disgusting thing. It's not your own. It's a pub. Everybody use it. So now I'm looking at dude like it's the same dude on the scale. I'm like, you just literally took a public hair dryer,
yes,
and just put all your nasty testicles, everything on it, butt crack, everything on it.
Did anybody? Okay, now see, in moments like that, usually, like in a TV show, if a moment situation like happens like that, what happens in a TV show is I'm gonna do this like okay, so this is I'm looking whatever, right? They break the third wall and they're like,
Right.
So
Dude,
did you have anybody that
no, dude, I was so shocked. Dude, I was so shocked. I was getting dressed, getting ready to leave. So I'm putting my shirt on, my polo shirt, I'm getting ready to go back to the office. And I'm so shocked. I'm like, did he just do that? And I'm looking around.
Was anybody, that's what I'm saying, did anybody,
like, and everybody just getting dressed because they must didn't see it because he literally at the sink with people around him. Like, he literally at the sink. They had like 4 or 5 sinks. He literally at the sink doing it. I'm like, did he just do this? Did he just do this? I said, man, that dude is disgusting.
Straight up.
That's just one story.
Yeah.
But that's probably the most memorable I seen. I said, this is absolutely disgusting. I said, this is why everybody just do not need to be in no gym right now. Because if you got one person like that,
you say everybody,
and they out there,
he's basically a germ spreader.
you're a germ spreader. So when I look, like, dude, like, I want, like, they need to replace that whole hair dryer.
Right, pull it out the wall.
Like, come on, dude. Like, my thing is, that is probably the most inconsiderate.
Yeah.
Like, do you really need to go down there and draw all that? Like, it's not your own. It's not like you brought your own and did it. It's the whole gyms.
Right, exactly.
I said, you know what? This is why I don't use hair dryer.
You paying $80 a month, or they was paying $80 a month for you to be able to touch somebody else's community property.
Right.
He must think that he's not his own. Hey, that's a community dryer, and he must be, a man of God that, is.
Nah, dude. It's so many different stories that I didn't see in gyms, and I'm like, you know what? I'm probably gonna be doing some outside activities for the next year or so. Let me just kind of buy a treadmill. I got some because dumbbells are hard to come by. I've been had dumbbells and everything. Mm-hmm. So I just said, let me just kind of do some stuff here because I can't going back to the gym the way it is now because people are already nasty and inconsiderate and all this other stuff. The last thing I need to be worried about is COVID or somebody breathing on stuff, touching stuff. That's the last thing I need to worry about because as much as the people try to keep the gym clean, it just don't ever be that clean.
No, it's hard. And see, and that's what I want. Let me ask you this. Is COVID a germ thing, or is it like, because before it was COVID, there were people who were considered themselves germaphobes.
Yeah.
So is the COVID thing, is it an extension of germophobia, or is it something different altogether, just based on what you've learned?
I know, like, I always look at this, it's like trials and tests, like how we say God brings stuff out of you. If you already a germaphobe, you're going to be a worse germaphobe. You know what I'm saying?
That's a very good point. Very good point.
I'm not a germaphobe,
right,
but I'm definitely more aware because you have to wear masks now, and the amount of people who you even got to convince to wear a mask and you going to protest to wear a mask, for the benefit of you and others, that just tells me we ain't ready. Like,
we're not ready for what?
People not as careful
and
as sanitized as you need to be. I was looking at Twitter the other day, probably like about 2 months ago, and just give you an example. And this lady was had her cat in her salad bowl, and she so she put the video of her cat in her salad bowl, and of course, a whole bunch of black people like, this is why I don't eat everybody potluck.
Right.
And she was like, well, I don't see what the problem is. Like, I don't see, people like, lady, She's like, well, I can always wash it off. Be like, no, you don't have a cat in your salad bowl of your food and all this other stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's like, do you not understand that's an animal? Like, we love him, but that's an animal. They don't have this type of sanitary that we have as humans. And people were just giving her, and she just did not understand why you can't have a cat on the island when you cook, and have a cat on the table when you eat. And I'm just watching the comments, and she was replying, and this is like a reporter or something. And of course, all the black people like, yep, can't eat no potluck, can't eat this. People replying like, so then this one particular dude was like, well, I don't wash. Now, he's like, he was getting some meat. He was like, well, before I barbecue or cook or whatever, he was like, I don't wash the white guy said, I don't wash the meat before you cook it. And the person was like, you don't wash it? Like, what you mean you don't wash it? He was like, you should wash your meat every time. He was like, well, the FDA says if you don't wash your meat, it's not, you can take the flavor out. And the guy responded was like, well, you can trust the FDA. I'm going to trust my ancestors. Because I'm thinking to myself, I ain't never met one black person, maybe you have, they cook with meat, they don't wash it.
No, I mean, I'm spending, that's anytime, I mean, I'm not much of a cook, but every time I barbecue, that's what I'm good at doing is, I'm washing the meat. I spend a lot of time washing the meat and pulling the fat off of the meat while I'm washing and stuff like that. So, but I mean,
No, so I'm like,
so that guy didn't understand.
He didn't understand. He went through the FDA rules to out if you wash your meat, you lose flavor. Like, no, brother, you don't know what
lose flavor.
Yeah, that's what he said. He posted a screenshot.
I thought flavor comes from your seasoning, not from the dirt.
Man, look, I said
your plate.
I said, this dude actually posted that you don't need to wash meat before you cook. And I said, see, this is the problem in our society.
What's the problem in our society?
Like, just basic sanitary practices.
Yes.
You just cannot eat everybody's food.
Right.
Because you can't go to everybody's house. I mean, me and my wife were looking for a house. Man, this is like 2005. And we always talk about this. We talked about this the other day.
Yeah.
You looking for a house, dude. We go in the house. She got pets and she smoked.
Dang.
And had carpet.
Dang.
We didn't walk.
Aren't you okay? What's your thought on that? Smoking, pets, and carpet. Does that sort of keep and foster a cloud of dust or what? Yes. Talk to me.
Because carpet absorbs. You can't get. If your carpet is old or you got carpet, you can only clean it so much. That stuff gets into the floor and that smell, especially if you're a smoker. It's like when people come out of a meeting. Who go in the corporate world, they go smoke before a meeting and they do all this other stuff and they outside, but you still smell like smoke. You know what I'm saying? Or you back in the day, you went to a club or something. Probably not you, but people went to a club and they come out the club and they got smoked. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And they don't even smoke. Or you go to a corporate party or something.
Do you know, Otis, that I did used to smoke?
I did not know that.
I know, because listen, when you met me, by the time you met me, I was 21. Okay.
Right.
And I got saved when I was 19. So I had about roughly 2 years of being at a Pentecostal holiness church. Rap is of the devil, smoking. My supervisor was a Christian. And I used to smoke. What happened is that I used to smoke in the barracks. I was on active duty at Fort Hood. And I used to smoke in the barracks. And my roommate, he was a playboy. He was a playboy. He had a lot of girlfriends, right?
Yeah.
And so he said he sat me down, and both of us were the same rank, so neither of us was bossing each other around. And he sat me down, and he explained to me very, very humbly and lovingly, as a good roommate and friend. I'm talking about the way he talked to me was as loving as the way I see you and Anderson. When I first started coming around, when I saw you and Anderson and Brian, you guys' relationship is amazing to me. I mean, I could talk about that for hours, and I want to ask you a little bit about that. but he talked to me like a friend. Nobody had talked to me. Nobody had ever had a disagreement with me, and loved me like a friend, like my roommate. I forgot his name at the moment, but he said to me, said, Matt, when you smoke in the room,
Ugh.
when you smoke in the room, it's we share a bathroom.
Uh,
Our room is about as big as, I don't know, a typical barracks. You know what I'm saying? You know,
right.
like a hotel room or whatever, right? For two people. Um, we share the room. When you smoke in the room, the secondhand smoke, the first hand smoke goes into your lungs, Matt.
Right.
But the secondhand smoke that you blow out and from the cigarette, it goes like Casper the Friendly Ghost. You remember Casper, Matt?
Yeah.
Remember
Yeah.
Casper the Friendly Ghost, Matt? Ghost. All of the smoke travels to my side of the room, and it gets into my clothes. It gets into the fibers,
Yes.
and so then I'm smelling, and my girlfriends, they are smelling the smoke. I had to wash and put in the cleaners all my clothes. I'm not
Man.
bringing them back into the house, man. You gotta please. I'm just begging you, man. Listen, I can't tell you what to do, but please, man, if you're gonna smoke outside.
Man, at least at the bare minimum,
He
smoke
hooked
outside.
me, man. I'm talking about. He explained it. How do you like that explanation? You know what I'm saying? Wasn't that nice?
It's very nice.
I didn't deserve that good explanation. You know what I'm saying? For being a secondhand smoker, being a smoker.
I had a guy across the street from me. He just sold his house, and he would always, every time I see him, he would be outside smoking in the driveway.
Right.
You know, because it's like, dude, you do know that if people go and if he sold it like a year ago, like if you looking at somebody to buy your house and they smell like smoke, that ain't gonna work. But the 15 years I've been here, he always smoked outside in his driveway.
So are you saying that that's an honorable thing because what he was trying to do is make sure that his house doesn't smell like smoke?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you know, because then I'm thinking he was the only one in the house that smoked.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it's like, okay, if you're the only one in here that smoke, don't mess up the rest of us.
Mm-hmm.
Mess up
Right.
our experience for the rest of us.
Now look, hey, you're gonna like this. You're gonna like this, Otis. This is another smoking story. Okay, so this is my father. So when I came home, when I came to Crusaders, Crusaders West, we're going to youth ministry. And while we were doing that, I was also working for a year. I worked a year with my father as a truck driver. And
Okay.
he drove
Yeah, I know.
he drove. Oh, you remember me talking about that, right?
I know. I just remember you being a truck driver. I know you work with
Yes.
you.
Yeah, I work for when I came off active duty, I started with my dad on July 6th of 1997, right?
Okay.
Which was that was also, I believe, the lead up to Gore versus George W. Bush, right? That's what was happening at the time. So the first service that I came to Crusaders was when Apostle Darrell, he didn't preach. He talked about a John Bevere sermon, and then he sat down and we listened. So you remember that? You remember where he talked about it and then he sat down and I looked at the back of his head for the whole service.
He's done that. He did that so many times. I just don't remember
amazing.
the time.
That's an amazing
And I probably had heard the message already because
yeah.
John Bevere, an amazing speaker, author. But he had done that so many times. I'm not surprised.
Right. That's how I ended up joining. But the smoking story is that, like, so during that first year, that's when I joined Crusaders, and I was on the truck with my father one day, and he said, Matt, go ahead, I want you to clean out my truck. Now, his truck, the way the truck looked, and this has been in various vehicles that my father drove. He smokes. He's a smoker. He's been a smoker ever since I've known him, which has all been all my life. He's been a smoker. Okay. So I'm 44. He's been smoking for at least 44 years or maybe 42 years. He might have been smoking because at the time when I was born, he was going to church. So he might not have been smoking at the time, but he was smoking. Anyway, so his vehicle, I would drive his truck and it would be raggedy driving or whatever, right? When he told me to clean out his truck, I cleaned out all the garbage And then I took a spray bottle and I started wiping over 8 years, Otis.
Jeez.
8 years of when smoke hits the ceiling
Yeah,
and it
yeah.
blackens it, right?
Wow.
Now, so I sprayed it and wiped it down. And Pastor Brian said something a long time ago. He said, man, have you ever noticed that when you wash your car and gas it up and stuff like that, when you kind of get your car clean, that the car drives better? I don't know if you ever remember him saying that, but I remember him saying that. And it's like, I noticed my father's truck driving much better because I had cleaned it out. I felt, it sounds ridiculous, but
no, you feel better about your vehicle. Like, I got my car washed like 2 weeks ago, and I hadn't got it washed in a while, and like I don't drive as much now.
Yeah,
because there's no need to drive. I work remote, and like obviously had to go in my garage to like empty garbage and something. I got to go past I'm like, man, my car look dirty. I gotta get it washed, you know. I'm like, what am I gonna get it washed for? But it's like I gotta be driving, you know. I gotta get it washed because, like you said, it's like for some reason cars that are wash more, for some reason live longer. They have a longer shelf life.
I don't know what it is. It's so
weird because you tend to take care of the car, you know. You got your tires shining and everything like that. But I went out on what day was this? Wednesday. And it was raining, and I was like, man, I was upset. Went to Portillo because it was raining, you know. I'm like, man, my car getting wet, waxing, and it didn't make it no worse. They messed the order up.
Oh,
we had to go back out and drive through and get it wet again. I was like, and it was like 9:45. I was like, I called the place. I'm like. And I looked that I had paid for. They didn't put my nuggets in there that I got for the kids.
Yeah.
And not listening to the wife. My wife said, just get them some fries. So I was like, you know what? Let me get them some nuggets just in case the fries is not enough. They forgot the nuggets and I paid for the nuggets. So I'm like,
gotta get them. Gotta get the nuggets.
And the lady was like, well, I can mail you something. It is Wednesday night. So this day before Thanksgiving. Well, you just come back up here. I'm like, I'm gonna go back up here because I can't depend on she gonna mail me something.
Right,
and
of course.
Day before Thanksgiving. And it's like 9:45. She didn't do it on Thursday. She might not do it on Friday. So I was like, let me just go on back up here. Yeah. But yeah, car wet and everything. I was so upset. I sat down, I took my food out, and I'm about to eat. I'm like, what are nuggets? I'm like, oh man. They forgot my nuggets. I gotta look for the number. And you know something, and you know Portillo's, they're pretty good with getting your order right.
Oh yeah.
And dude just handed me the bag. He just, you know, rolled the window down, handed me the bag. I got this big old bag, and I'm like, dude, I really don't feel like going through this bag. It's raining, and I'm pretty sure it's everything is in here. They're pretty good. I get home, and I'm like, oh man, this is bad. But yeah, you gotta take care of your car and everything.
Yeah. So I do want to. I do have to ask you this only because if I'm correct, you are also in your 40s. You know, you don't look a day over 27, 28, 29. Okay, just so you know. You know what I'm saying? And are you younger than me? In other words, I'm 44 now.
I'll be 43 in December.
Dang, you're right there. Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm 42 now, yeah.
So okay. So is it safe to say that you've been a Christian for over 20-something years?
I remember, I've been a Christian since 1993. I was a sophomore in high school. I actually have the tape. Yes, I still do. I actually have the tape that I got saved on, which was Demetrius was preaching.
Demetrius Robinson.
Demetrius Robinson was preaching. We was
it on the west side or was it at the other place?
It was at the other place.
At the other place, okay.
The first Crusaders West.
Madison Street or something like that.
On Madison off Ridgeland.
Okay.
Right now, that's a CVS.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So that CVS off Ridgeland in Madison.
Yeah.
That's where the church was. So It was a Wednesday night. My mom had been going, and I was listening to Pastor Daryl Alive and stuff like that. But Demetrius came up, preached about it was the message was called "Go Back to the Manufacturer." And you got to kind of know your purpose by going back to the person that made you. This was a Wednesday night. I never forget because I got the tape. So it was such a good message because that was a message I never heard before. It was like a Miles Monroe message, you know. And so I got saved that night, and that was like May, I want to say March of 93. And then in May of that year, I never forget, I was in high school. We had an 85th anniversary for our high school, and we were going to walk to Wrigley Field. And I had a crazy morning, like the bus was late, and we were all meeting at Shoney's to eat breakfast before school. And I got there super late, and then I had just enough to pay for the meal, but I didn't have the tax. So I was short like $1 to pay for the meal. So I literally grabbed a tip off someone's table. I'm like, I'm not going to jail. And I felt so bad after that because I was like, man. So I end up paying for the meal. I got there super late. I missed everything. And I went to church that Wednesday night again, and we had Diane Palmer there. And she spoke the word of the Lord over me, prophesied that I had an anointing to preach, and I would go to the four corners of the earth, and that after tonight, my life will never be the same. That's literally
what she said.
That's exactly what she said.
So have you gone to the four corners of the earth and have you preached, and has your life not been the same?
I've gone, but I'm not going to the four corners of the earth. I've been west and east, but not north and south.
Well, so, I can say it does the internet qualify? Like, in other words, if this interview, if I get it to go to Africa or something like that, let me see how to upgrade. Let me see. I can't. Oh man, this thing. Oh man, let me see. This meeting will end in 10 minutes. Ain't that a trip? Let me see.
I'm seeing that.
You see that too?
Yeah.
Doggone it. Well, you know what I'm gonna do? This is what we're gonna do.
Okay.
Let me see. We're gonna run this few minutes out, and then I'm gonna call you back on another way to call you back, and I'm gonna work it out. So anyway, okay, go back to they're trying to take my money. And you know what? Zoom is kind of worth it. So with Zoom, you can do a lot. So look, so back to that. I do want to talk about Demetrius for a good piece of time. But now that you've been saved for 27, is that 27?
Yeah, 27.
So what's your assessment? Give me about, 3 minutes. This is my feeling. My feeling is that after all the preaching that I watched you.
Right.
I watched you sit and listen to messages from all these different people, and I listened to the same messages. And because I know you, I know that you studied the Bible on your own, you lived it with your children and stuff like that. So now you to me are like, this is how I look at you. I see you as however, okay, Jesus was great.
Right.
But he said that you could be even greater than me. Right. And so Apostle John cometh. And he's, he may not be Jesus, but he's definitely done some stuff that you can consider, whoa. Okay. He caused, I credit Apostle John for being such a powerful apostle that he made a lot of bishops change their name from bishop to apostle. You know what I'm saying? And that's a huge deal. And there's more stuff to it on top of that. But I see you as a version of that, if not greater than that, for our generation. In other words, I don't know how old Apostle John Eckhart is. He's got to be in his 60s, I'm assuming.
Yeah, he's definitely in his 60s.
So it's like his generation has to pass the baton to our generation because, you know, the people who were in their late 50s and 60s and 70s, they
Right.
handed it to Pastor Brian and Pastor Carla
Right.
and all of them and Apostle John, and they gave us the benefit. So I'm looking forward to what happens beyond now. What do you think about it? What's your assessment of America? What's your assessment of the world, the kingdom of God, church, and all that?
I think the spiritual aspect of the church will always be there. But I think what the church has made the mistake is that, number one, people our age now, Matt, those people in their 20s, or their teens and 20s, they're not in church anymore. You know what I'm saying? We are not, I told Anderson this, we are not, and I'm not going to use a political term, we're not adjusting to our generation for the church. Meaning that what worked for me and you is not working for the 20-year-olds now. You know what I'm saying? I think because we have structural issues in our society, I think what we need to do is we've done a great job of getting us information on your personal kingdom with God, your position as a Christian and all that good stuff. But a lot of these young people are saying, Mom, Dad, y'all was in a great position to help us. But the church has now got to the point now, I want to say it's probably since 2008. This is probably, in my opinion, when it started really happening. When the economy was tanking and people were losing their houses, losing their jobs, losing their cars, incomes were falling. You know, we had a free fall in the economy. You still had those same churches saying, we need your tithes. We need this. You need that. You need this. You need that. And people were like, well, hold on. I've been giving faithfully for X amount of months, X amount of years, and my personal finances have been affected, you know, but you want me to continue the group. And I think what people were expectation was, it would be a little bit in the reverse. How can we help you? A food pantry, you know, meals, things like that, blood drives, affordable housing. And so to me, probably in the last 10 to 12 years, you know, back then, if Creflo Dollar was buying a plane, nobody was saying anything, dude. Now you buy a plane at $36 million. It's like, well, you know what you can do with $36 million or whatever the case may be. And I think a lot of times the church has not adjusted its, when I want to say it like this, the business model of church now. It got to be more about serving others, their needs, versus giving money to the church and nothing happens in the community. Because I'm thinking like all the stuff that we talked about, Matt, taking a block, buying a building, all this stuff that people believed in never happened. And you like, wait a minute, hold on. The bookstore, I mean, just the stuff from CCW and even Crusaders South, you're like, wait a minute. All this stuff that we talked about doing, we never did. We still in the same position was when 27 years ago. So now you
27 years, meaning your 27 years.
My 27 years.
Dang. And
so it's like
this is before you started your 27 years with
right. So this is I was a teenager. We still in the same building. We still don't own no blocks. We still don't own no stores. We still don't own no no real estate. So now people like, wait, hold on. So now the church has, and look, the church as a whole has lost a little bit of credibility on that front. You know what I'm saying? And it's hard to get that back. Once you lose people's trust, it is very hard to get that stuff back. And the problem is now those same people who 27 years ago were in their 30s, not in their 50s and 60s. And they don't have that income to support, that attitude.
And you're saying now they really do need the money too, is what you're saying.
Right, the church needs the money, but the people who can still support that, they don't have that income no more because now they didn't retire, they didn't moved on, they didn't get Social Security, whatever the case may be. So now the people who are actually working for a living in their 20s, 30s, and 40s is like, well, hold on. My parents and grandparents was like giving them money, and now y'all didn't. So that's what I mean. It has to change. It's like anything. You have to adjust with the times. And I think that's what the church needs to do. You don't have to change your preaching per se, but the way you serve people, you got to change it. And I think that's the big issue now. I need to see some results on y'all helping people with food pantries and the poor, things like that, single mothers, helping people pay rent, car ministry, all the things that we talked about. I need to see. That's what most people, young people, are saying now. Now, I still go and tithe and everything like that, but now it's hard getting people to tithe because it's like, wait, hold on. I'm only seeing a building. You know what I'm saying? That's all I see. So
all right, I'm actually considering upgrading to Pro, but I think that we can do this on Messenger. Don't you think we should be able to do this on Messenger, right?
Brother, I don't know.
I'm the guru. I'm the guru on this stuff.
I know how to work it, but
listen, I'm gonna call you back probably on Messenger, so look out for me in a few seconds, okay?
Okay.
All right. So we are back on the record. All right. So first of all, Otis, your words, they're profound to me in terms of your view of the church and the mistake that was made, if you want to. Would you call it a mistake, or was that by design?
I would say I want to say it's a mistake. It's more of not, how people say you're not reading the room, and you're not discerning the times. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times, you have to be sensitive to the life situation that's going on with your members, your constituents. You know what I'm saying? And I think that part of, the church is, the church we grew up in, it was all a great thing about the thought process was you get your mind right, get your spiritual life right, everything else will follow. Mm-hmm. I understand it, agree with it. I think what happens is when you get your mind right, get your mind life, get your spiritual life right, and because we have an enemy that comes to kill, steal, and destroy, we don't compensate for that natural factor, meaning that, okay, my tire went out, my engine went out, I need help in this area. I'm getting my mind right, but if I can't get to church with with real reliable transportation or my car, and to get my mind right, doesn't help me. So I think a lot of times we stayed in that model of church per se, and you got to make adjustments like anything on the fly. Churches are shrinking right now before COVID. Now this is going to even be worse because now people don't have something to go to and they have a legitimate reason. They can watch it online, they can watch it on demand. They don't need to experience the in-person church that we've come to experience. And so a lot of churches have been hurt because of this, and it has affected how they react. Like, you got some churches still want to meet in person. My church is meeting in person, socially distanced, and we like, no. We can't do that right now. You know what I'm saying? They wanted somebody to go. They wanted somebody I know who's been over the children's ministry to come back. She's like, I'm not handling with nobody's children. I'm not about to have no children's ministry right now. Reason being is because, like, it ain't funny.
Now, why isn't it
But
safe?
why would you? The issue is you want to get people.
No. Go ahead. Finish your point.
Because again, everybody's not gonna keep their mask.
Right. Back to the germ thing.
Because you can't trust that everybody will keep their mask on. Right. You don't know if people have symptoms of COVID. You don't know if people are asymptomatic.
Mhm.
You don't know how this thing is spread. That's why I always tell people, this is a brand new disease. People need to realize this disease is only a year old. Our body ain't used to this disease.
Right.
The common cold been around for hundreds of years. There are multiple mutations of that. This is a 1-year disease. It's already mutated in a few parts of the animals already. So the thing is, you can't just be like, well, I got it once, or my body did this, and you're like, brother, we have no data long term on how this disease is going to end up 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, 10 years. We don't know how this is going to end up. This thing can mutate now, God forbid it don't. But this is a fight that's going to be happening for the next decade.
So in other words, you see this.
They're going to be studying these things for the next decade because we don't know if this thing can mutate.
It's really interesting that you said that. And I'm Pastor Brian on the Sunday before Thanksgiving. And I'm going to ask you about this only because you're bringing it up and it's such a discussion as you're talking about it. All right. I'm paraphrasing, but anybody can go to Pastor Brian's Facebook or CCI's Facebook and look at the final 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's paraphrase what he was saying.
Yeah.
That it's possible, and he didn't say mark of the beast. He didn't say this. But it's possible that the lingo related to vaccinations would actually put everybody either at least in America, if not worldwide, where just like you can't go into a store to buy and sell without a mask, proving that you've been vaccinated might put people in that mark of the beast type scenario where you can't buy and sell unless you've got blah, whatever. I'm not saying he's right, and I'm not saying that that's exactly what he said. I'm saying that as he was talking about it, he was referencing it, and there was an inference there that caused my mind to think. And as you're talking about it from a totally different, not saying that he doesn't agree with you about masks. I'm not saying that. But those people, we know. I guess I'll leave it there, and then I'll pick it up. But what do you think about that so far? Just that part so far. The idea of vaccinations, being related to.
I tell people, like, I'm not an anti-vaccine person, but it might be the situation. Look, we work normal jobs. The jobs might say, okay, you can't come back to the office until you got a vaccination.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's very possible. If you work in a restaurant or you work in front and facing people, if you don't want to do it, that's your choice. You just got to find another job. That's how I look at it.
Right.
It's very simple. If you're not comfortable with it, and again, make sure it's all regulatory and all the trials and tests, and make sure that it's done right and everything like that, especially when it comes to African Americans. Our history with medicine and vaccines and being tested ain't the best historically. I know that. And I'm trying to tell people, yes, you have to make sure, and this is what I think I try to tell people too, Matt. Make sure you get educated on this stuff. I heard, what's the anti-racist lady name? Jane, what's his name? Jane Elliott.
You said the anti-racist
She said
lady?
something very powerful.
Oh, Jane Elliott. Yes.
We
Jane
have
Elliott, yeah.
Yeah, Jane
Yeah.
Elliott. We have been indoctrinated, not educated.
You said we've been indoctrinated.
You know,
Black people have been
um,
indoctrinated, not educated, or are you saying Americans?
and not no, no, society,
Society
society,
has been
society,
indoctrinated, not
Americans.
educated.
Just when it comes
Come
to
on,
race,
close a
we've
little bit.
been not correct. We have to get educated and not indoctrinated. You know, all the information out there, unfortunately, that we have at our fingertips. And look, man, they've been telling us this for like since. Remember, we was in our young 20s in high school when the internet was just being introduced. And I remember Pastor Brian saying, like, look, you go around the world from your bedroom. You can go this, you can do that. There's no reason you should not get the information you need to be educated because you got it right there. You
Mm,
ain't got to go to no library.
mm.
And it seems like we don't want to do that type of education. You know, we want to go on YouTube and watch conspiracy theories all day, and we don't want to get ourselves fully educated. We don't want to get ourselves fully educated on things. Now, again, read, read, read. You know, I've always been an advocate
Yeah.
reader. Um, so you got to read and do your research. Make sure you're doing what you need to do, finding out what the science is saying. Look, I always tell people, look, if you don't listen to one person, and when it comes to this, maybe Dr. Fauci is the point person you want to listen to, because when he say we can go back, you know, and the vaccine has been taken and everything like that, but if you just get educated on the issue of vaccinations with no type of agenda,
Right, right.
you know, I'm not here to tell you you shouldn't be concerned. I'm not here to tell you that, but I tell people we got vaccinated, we was fine. You know, we got measles vaccinations and mumps vaccinations and polio and stuff like that. We's fine. Again, I'm not here to tell you that look, if it's a COVID vaccination and your job said, look, you need to get this, if you want to earn a living, my suggestion is you got to make a
Right,
decision.
right.
Do your research, find out what's safe, find out what's necessary, and make a decision that's educated. If you don't want to get vaccination, well, don't work at a job that requires a vaccination. It's very
Right.
simple. You know, it's not, don't get, if you want to stay at the job but don't want to get vaccinated, it's like, okay, what they supposed to do? You put everybody at risk.
Right.
So I think that's where we need to kind of use.
I'm laughing because it's funny.
You need to use common sense,
So
man. It's
so
just
so then
I'm all for common
which
sense.
let me ask you this because this brings up something that um this brings up a topic that I might as well ask you. Okay,
Yeah,
if you are the mayor of a town, all right, let's say you, Otis, you become the mayor of Chicago.
yeah.
Are you supposed to implement all
Mm.
policies from your mayor's office that line up with your Christian beliefs? Or are you supposed to recognize that not everybody is a Christian like you've been? Like, in other words, you believe in tithing. So, you might want to pass a law that says everybody, in addition to giving your taxes, everybody will give 10% to such and such ministry or a ministry of your choice. That's an example.
Right.
What's your thought on being a leader, even though you're a Christian, but being a leader of a town or a city or something like that?
Man, I had a conversation with somebody about this a week ago,
Yes, I love it. I love
literally.
it. I love it.
And people don't know this. Uh, um, I ran for office here in my local
Yes,
town.
that's what I'm talking about.
You know, I ran for office here in my local town, didn't win, but you understand local politics and local issues. And I told him, I said, look, you say you're a Christian, right? No problem. All right. So you're a Christian, but you the mayor, you the leader, you're a public servant. Because that's what I tell him. You're a public servant, meaning that these taxpayers pay your salary. You know what I mean? You don't have an opinion as a politician. Your constituents are your opinion. They put you there. They want you to meet their needs as your public servant.
Mm-hmm.
You're not there to impose your biblical or theological opinion on them. You know, now you can be guided by being a person of integrity, being a person of your word, not doing anything that was shenanigans and things like that. But at the end of the day, your biblical theology is not to be your governing strategy. This is what I told him. Where I live, we have a lot of Muslims here. I'm a Christian. I follow Jesus Christ. Muslims don't follow Jesus Christ. If they had a ribbon cutting of a new building and I'm a public servant, what would I not go to that ribbon cutting? If they have an event, that's my constituents, right? They put me in office. They pay taxes. If I go to an event that they are part of, I don't subscribe to their faith. My faith is my personal walk with Jesus Christ. That's my personal walk. I am in that office to serve taxpayers. Whether I agree or disagree, love, all that. My job is to the taxpayers of my district, period. So if they have an event or they want me to go to a something that celebrates their faith because I'm their mayor, I'm their public servant, it is my responsibility as they are paying my salary to go there. Doesn't mean I got to go worship the person who's there.
Right.
And he didn't understand, like, well, I'm a Christian, so I mean, don't mean I'm going to treat them bad or treat them different. Well, you actually are. Because if you're telling me, well, I'm only going to go to Christian church events, but I'm not going to go to these other events.
You're dismissing a whole segment
I don't
of
agree
your
with
district.
that particular religion.
Dang.
Right. But they paying your salary. But you want them to get rid, but you want them to vote you in. You know what I'm saying? You don't take an oath to the Bible when you become a public servant. You take an oath to the Constitution of the United States of Illinois and the ordinance of your town to serve the constituents of your town. If you want to only serve a certain section of your town, do not run for public office. The reason it's public is because it's for everybody. You know, so I told him, I'm like, this is why you could not run for office under the Christian term. I go to the library and they have Black History Month, Ramadan, LBTQ. They celebrate all those things because they pay taxes to that library. They pay taxes. They're the constituents. And so those constituents might say, okay, we need Asian Heritage, Hispanic Heritage Month, you know. But the things I might not agree with or might not subscribe to the lifestyle, well, I can't do those. Well, what are you in public office for? You're not in public office to impose your religious views. You're in public office to serve the people who are paying taxes for your salary. So, yeah, when it goes back to, okay, if I'm the mayor of Chicago, I need to go to this event, LBTQ, or I need to go to this Muslim event, or I need to go to a Buddhist temple because they have a youth center or whatever the case may be, or they got an Asian temple where they're serving, you know, the homeless and things like that. Well, those are meeting the needs of my constituents. Those are taxpayers. My personal walk is not affected because I'm not subjecting myself, or I'm not obeying that way of living as a way of living. And that's the thing I try to tell people. You're in a public official capacity. In your personal capacity, You can attend any church you want to, any religious service you want to, but if you're in that official capacity as a public servant, there is no, well, I only do this and I only do that. Well, that's not how it works. You know what I'm saying? If we said only the public, and we had this in our country, in our public schools, we're not gonna allow Muslims. In our public schools, we're not going to allow gays. In our public schools, we're not going to allow blacks. In our public schools, we're not going to allow people who are atheists. No, it's not a public school. The purpose of public is public.
Right. If you're going to take people's tax money,
that's the purpose of public.
If you're going to take taxes
from
everybody, then, now if you're going to discriminate against people, then let them be tax exempt. Hey, you know what? Gays, we don't want you. Gay people, LGBTQ, we don't want. We intend. This country is going to discriminate against you. Therefore, you are not tax exempt.
Right.
Black people, police, police officers, they're public servants. Police. Yes, we're going to continue to beat up black people. I just wrote this. I just worked on that today. I don't mind taking police harassment if I'm not paying taxes. It's actually my expectations that's messing me up. I actually am expecting fair treatment. Why would I expect fair treatment? I'm a taxpayer.
and I was telling the conversation with this person because I'm saying, see, this is the thing about it is, see, to me, when I hear people say that, that's religion. You know what I'm saying? My religion won't allow me to interact with people of different faiths. When I ran for office in 2019, Matt, I got signatures from Muslims. I was packing envelope with Muslims. I had never dealt with people from the Muslim community on a more personal level in my life. So at the end of the day, they people too.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know it was I love food.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They got in the Muslim culture, they got a whole different way of consecrating their meat.
Oh, really?
That I ain't even never heard of. Just from a consumer. Yes, from a consumer standpoint, you're like, wait a minute, y'all. It's like when the Bible says, they take the best calf and the best this and the best lamb, and they still do that in the Muslim community, and they have Muslim slaughterhouses.
Right. Gotcha.
Like literally slaughterhouses that cut meat a certain way. I'm like, wait a minute, y'all cut meat a certain way? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, man, in different restaurants, they serve food that's way more healthier than you would probably see at a normal restaurant because they cut their meat a certain way.
Wow.
Now I would have never knew that.
Right.
But I got educated on how they do things differently from us. You know what I'm saying? And so that's what I think a lot of times we really need to focus on. Like, again, a lot of government, like when I say local government, like you said, your mayors, your city council,
police officers,
you're dealing with a whole bunch of boring government stuff anyway. Stuff like that. I mean, when you're dealing with curb cuts, zoning, if the door should be on this side, or if the building needs to be a certain height or a certain length, or if it's enough sprinklers and all this other stuff and fire hydrants. You're dealing with a whole bunch of boring government stuff.
I got a good one. Okay, I got a good one.
Yeah.
I'm living in Toma, right? And all the time that you've known me at, I've been going back and forth to Fort McCoy. And I even in 2009, when I became a year before I became the sound man at CCI, I got a civilian job at Fort McCoy. So I used to travel back and forth up there all the time. Do you know, Otis, check this out.
Right.
They got Amish people where I'm at up in Toma, okay? And they do horse and buggy and ride it back and forth to Walmart, right? Do you know? Now I wasn't there, but one of my bosses
Yeah.
apparently was at one of these. They had just like they had them little meetings that you see, you know, city council, city something meetings, and there was a dude, and there was a bunch of people there, and this dude was kind of like the spokesman
Yeah.
for him. He says, "Listen, so I'm gonna give you kind of like the speech a little bit." So this is the problem, council. We need to somehow force and put a law in place that makes it so that the Amish people, when they ride up and down the town to Walmart in their horse and buggy, their horse poops all over the ground. Why do I have to drive over the horse poop? So I'm asking that y'all pass a law that says that they have to clean up their Amish horse poop, or they have to wear a diaper or something. I shouldn't have to see that horse poop on the ground. And when we were talking about that, because I'm a paralegal, I've been working in a legal office with lawyers, and so that type of stuff is fascinating to me. I'm like, did they pass a law? I don't see no horse poop though.
Right.
So I feel you. It's
Right.
ridiculous. It's boring, mundane. And if I was a city council person listening to Mr. Horse Poop complainer, I can't say, look, I can't listen to you because of my religious beliefs. Nope. I gotta do something about that horse poop.
Right. All you gotta say, look, if y'all gonna have a horse, y'all gonna have like a little patch. Right. I gotta have a little patch of somewhere y'all ride down the horse. A lot of, like I said, a lot of this stuff is a lot of boring, and this is why I think people don't understand. Like, people only pay attention to what I call the Super Bowl of elections. You know, the presidency. You know, but you pay property taxes. You know, you pay property taxes, and you don't know who's making those decisions on your property taxes. But then want to get mad that your property tax is too high. But then you don't know who the people making the decisions, and then you don't vote the people in and don't vote the people out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then you wonder, well, I'm tired, I'm fed up. You know, property taxes got nothing really to do per se with state, how bad or good your state is. You know, you can live in Naperville or Aurora, and your property tax could be totally different compared to those two cities, and they're next to each other. You know, but yeah, going back to your question, it's like you have to govern as a person of principle. And look, the crazy part is, and people don't realize this too, you know, we had a Muslim who ran for office here when I ran for office in 2019. And I realized it was a lot of xenophobia out there.
Xenophobia,
you know,
meaning
there's a lot of that out there.
Of being afraid.
And it ain't just
is xenophobia. Is that being afraid of Muslims, or is it,
afraid,
or is it being discriminatory against Muslims? Which one is it? Afraid or discriminatory?
No. Well, you can't be discriminatory unless you're afraid. You know what I'm saying? So it's both.
Please continue. This is fascinating. Go ahead.
So and I've seen a lot of it firsthand. You know, I'm like, man, you know, and that's kind of, you know, and that's what people don't really realize, that our political climate doesn't allow for people of that faith to walk around with their scarf and stuff like that and worried about getting attacked or, you know, yelled at and things like that. These people got kids too. These people go to school too. You know, you can't be doing all type of crazy stuff in the name of religion, you know, but people have been doing things crazy in the name of religion for centuries, you know. So it's nothing new, but we just have to realize it and fight it, because if they're willing to do that, you know, it's, to me, I tell people, you know, it was easy to treat blacks a certain way 50 years ago, 60 years ago, whatever the case may be, and to look at them a certain way. Now we're doing the same thing that we did to blacks to some degree. We're doing those to people who are Muslims. You know, ever since there was the war and everything like that, now we have a reason to fear those who are Muslims, you know. And 9/11 was a horrible tragedy in our country, But what it did was it gave a target for those who are peaceful Muslims in our country, so that they can't walk around worrying about hate crimes and things like that, because there's a heightened anger toward those individuals because of the faith they subscribe to, And so the thing is, we have to be extra vigilant as Christians, because if people are getting bullied or abused because of their faith, that's one thing Christians don't stand for.
Shouldn't.
We don't want people to get abused for our faith. You got Christians, you shouldn't. So it's just that we have as a society, I think we redirect instead of change. We redirect our anger to a certain group of people that society said okay to redirect it. A lot of times we don't change it. It kind of goes hidden, and then we find a reason to redirect it out on this particular group of people who probably don't have anything or don't have any idea what's going on. I mean, it's happened through the years. It's happened through centuries. And so we just have to be very cognizant of the fact that if we share a different faith or different belief or a different set of principles, at the end of the day, people still pay taxes and they deserve to be treated fairly. Justice is justice for everybody. So, but yeah, we should be, but that's one thing we got to get away. We are a democracy. And I told this person, I said, we're not a theocracy. The Bible is not the law. It's a principles we live by, but you don't die because you cheated on your wife. We don't live in that country. It's not if you cheat on your wife, you don't go to jail. We're not a theocracy. We're a democracy. We don't have those laws in America. So we wouldn't want someone to go to jail if they cheated on their wife, but you have people who think, okay, we should live our laws by the Bible. Like, nah, we really can't do that per se, because we would, if we sin, we go to jail. We can't live like that, but we're not under that law anymore. But you have people who think, well, I'll obey God's law instead of man's law. It's like, okay, what are we doing here? Certain certain laws are put in place to protect us against ourselves. I'm not saying you got to agree with every law, but Matt, at one time, people didn't think seatbelts was impinging on their freedom. You can think about
my father to this day, I feel like I'm ratting him out, but my father, but it's buried. I don't think anybody in authority is probably even going to listen to what we're talking about. Nobody but my father, throughout my entire life, has never bowed to the seatbelt thing. Even to this day, he will put it around him, but not, click it. I'm worried about a ticket.
Shoulder.
Right. Yeah, he just, he got, and if he get pulled over, how to put that thing, and whatever. But the point, and I'm saying that not trying to rat him out to the public, but he has never been in an accident where the seatbelt has been an issue. And that, and I don't perceive or foresee that he would. I know that for me, the reason why I'm trained, I'm not even comfortable driving without a seatbelt on. Like, my brain, even if I have a car that does the ding 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 when you don't have your seatbelt on, my brain doesn't let me. And I remember before I came to to Crusaders, I remember I was leaving. Let me see, when was this? Okay, I was leaving Texas, and I had on my passenger seat, I had sermon tapes and sermon book, books from preachers and stuff like that. That's what I used to, I had a cassette player, so I would just pop them in. I had all the, matter of fact, hold on, let me show you something. This ain't all of them, but these are sermon tapes. Right. You know what I'm saying? I keep them in my, because I there's so much stuff in these sermons, right? So So I had sermon tapes on my seat, and my back was in my
Yeah.
back seat was my belongings, because I was moving from, I was coming back from I had finished my assignment at Fort Hood, and now I'm driving back home to Chicago, and so I got pulled over by a cop, and when I look back on it, I know he was a cop that didn't mean me any good. Okay, he convinced me to search my vehicle. All right,
Right.
but here's how the stop started. The stop began where he turned on his lights. Hold on, yes, baby. Give you a chair. You need a chair. Oh yeah, no problem. There you go. So the stop began with the light flashing. I pull over. He comes to the door, and he comes to my door and says, how come you didn't stop 6 miles ago? Whatever lie he made up. I said, sir, I've been paying attention. You just turned your light on just now. You just turned them on, and I pulled over immediately. And so that his logic did not twist me up, because I'm listen, you remember when I first came, I was Mr. Love the Lord. Okay, that's who I was. Right? So then he starts to say to me, your seatbelt, you didn't have your seatbelt on. Your seat. I said, sir, I wear my seatbelt so I'm not comfortable driving without my seatbelt, Mr. Officer. So I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't take my seat. He's accusing me and doing it, right? So then that doesn't go anywhere. He says, well, since you're not doing anything wrong, you mind if I search your vehicle? And I didn't know that I could say, no, you can't search my vehicle. I didn't know that. I know that now, but I was 20 going on 21 at this time. You know what I'm saying? So right. I get out of my car. He's rumbling through my vehicle, and all he found was Bible stuff, Bible thumper stuff. And so then, have a good one. The way you're going is just such a way. And I found that fascinating because it's like when, for me, a person that is got ill will towards people who are black or Muslim or this, that, and the other. It's like, come on, man. At some point, you got to drop it. You know what I'm saying? What's the holdup, Otis? What's the holdup on discrimination of all sorts? What's the holdup? What is everybody waiting on?
Brother, white supremacy is in our country's DNA.
It's just the way it is, huh? And this is coming from Mr. Christian.
And see, the thing is, Matt. Yeah, but I've been reading a lot of history of our country the last 2-3 years.
Yeah.
And it's a very good book. I'm always reading books about Martin Luther King's last book called Chaos or Community.
Chaos or Community.
Where do we go from here?
Chaos or Community. Where you go?
Fascinating.
Where do we go from here? Gotcha.
Where do we go from here? His last book he written in 1968. And when you say discrimination in our country, you're like, wait a minute. But the thing is, in order for you, the way MLK framed it was, in order to justify slavery, that's where the doctrine of white supremacy came from. Because the only way you can justify slavery in the country and treating humans as property is to just say we are supreme beings than these particular individuals.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And so the doctrine of treating people less than because there's a difference between you and them it has nothing to do with the fact it's you. It's just the fact that we have been doctrinized in our society where that to justify our treatment, and that's the word, to justify our treatment of individuals, we have to make them less than to justify their treatment. And so that's where a lot of this discrimination. And so we're seeing now is we're seeing everyday racism. And that's the difference with what we see then when you grew up and I grew up. We seen racism, Rodney King. Oh man, that's awful. Now we all kind of knew police were doing that, but we never seen it. And then it was the excuse of, well, that was one-time thing on the news. See, the thing is, with like going back to technology, there's no filter now. You know what I'm saying? Now I got a phone and I can film everyday racism with Karen. I can film going into a store or this or that. And that's what's happening in our country, especially with some of our white brothers and sisters. Like, wait a minute, this is like everyday racism. This ain't no systemic racism per se, when you can't have certain people in schools and they can't have certain people in clubs or businesses or work in an environment and things like that. We're seeing everyday common racism in our eyes every single day. You go bird watching, you run into a Amy Cooper. You're like, and so what is happening is, but you get what I'm saying? It's just being filmed. You know what I'm saying? That's the difference. And so racism is now being in our living room, and it's not a one-time incident with let's say, a bad cop or a bad teacher or a bad company employee. This is everyday people doing everyday racist stuff. And it's like, wow. And so now, because so now you got a situation where
everyday people, everyday people, every day. Sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to take it.
So now nobody look, but now you got a situation where you got people with camera phones everywhere, and the last thing people need to be is on the 9 o'clock news, Good Morning America. You getting 2 million views. They find out where you work, where you shop. Brother, it's just like, wow. And so that's what's going on. Like, right. Even the most well-intended people, you're like, man, this is, and people just tired.
He said people are just tired.
I think we're getting to a point in our country now, people tired. Look, some white people tired, like, come on now. Like, come on now. Matt, and the thing is, Matt, me and my wife say this all the time. We love our white brothers and sisters, but all you got to do is, one thing about black people, we mind our business. Man, that don't look right, man. You know what? Keep it moving. Mm-hmm. I don't know what's going on with that, but I'm going to keep it moving. Hey, what are you doing? Mind your business.
Oh, you're saying the prescription for Karen is just mind your business, Karen. Is that what you're saying?
Mind your business. That's all you got to do. Because a lot of these situations, people don't mind their own business. You know what I'm saying?
I heard. Do you know? Okay, you ever heard of Dave Chappelle? Otis, you've heard of Dave Chappelle, right? Okay, yeah. So Neil, there's a guy, the white guy Neil that was with him. Do you know who that is? You've seen him before? The white guy that
I believe so.
He was to Dave Chappelle what Larry David was to Jerry Seinfeld. Okay. So the Chappelle show, Neil, his name, the last name messes with me. I forgot it at the moment because I'm talking to you. Such greatness. Anyway, so
Okay.
Neil, he did a comedy special, and he is such. I love his comedy. I love this guy. I love his comedy. He has a podcast called How Neil Feel right now. He is funny.
Okay.
One of the things he went, and I'm not gonna do the joke any justice, but here's what he talked about. He said one of the things about white people is we don't know. We just love rules. We love, telling on people. We love the rules, and we love telling on people. Hey, they broke the rules. And he goes into this whole thing about white people and rules and telling on people that they just love the tattletale. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, he went into it so deep to say, white people, y'all made the rules. We made the rules. You know what I'm saying? Like, these are, they make up rules. It was so fun. And then I think, if I'm not mistaken, he also in his comedy was talking about how sometimes they sleep, that they take all these different pills and different things to sleep. He said, black people, you give us some silence for 5 minutes and we'll fall asleep. He said, white people. And I was cracking up, because when you put that together, there's such a worry and concern. And in my own time, I remember reading something. I don't know why this is the case, but for some reason, based on some stuff I read, and I hope I'm wrong about this, that part of the anxiety of certain white people, not regular white people who ain't done nothing to nobody, but white supremacists, that there's a fear of retribution. Like, when they see black people assembling, they feel that we are plotting their revenge. Much like, that's why I want to ask you about the Willie Lynch letter, because, one of the things that it talked about in that letter was that, hey, how they're going to outnumber the blacks, they outnumber us. How do we keep them in control? And so we have to do all these different things to maintain some control over them. So, making it so that me and you, let's say, making it so that, thank God, I got my Zoom, the Zoom recording from the first minutes that finally finished rendering. And so in a second, I want to stop this and start a new recording, because I want to make sure everything worked out on this one, because now that that's done, my computer should be freed up.
Okay.
But it was fascinating to me because, like, if they are constantly worried, if it's just in a lot of white people that they're worried about, just like black people, when we see the police, it's in us. I know I do. It's just in us. It's, I've been stopped, maybe, and the law of attraction, maybe the law of attraction is real, because I be so afraid of the police. That's why they pull me over. You know what I'm saying? Maybe I'm attracting it. Maybe it's not them, it's me. I'm attracting it because I'm, was it Joe, the thing that I feared the most came upon me, and I'm afraid of the police, so they're gonna, or maybe it's them. It could be me, but maybe it's them. I'll take my personal responsibility for my fear. But anyway, but I guess what I'm saying is that it's like, if they are constantly fearful of black people assembling and, wanting for, whether it's reparations or some type of revenge for, black people have forgiven. Haven't you seen black people forgive so much stuff?
Well, yes, I would say this too. You do know the Willie Lynch letter is not real, right?
Yeah, I just looked the thing up that some, I don't know who made it up, but I did see that
it has some truth into it, but it's not. I don't know how this thing came about, but the thing is, it's like, this is what we got to realize too. we are one thing that since 1954, since segregation has fallen in this country, Matt, we are seeing more, and I say this very
Okay.
powerfully. Racism is bigger than it was, or more has evolved more. I will say that word. Racism has evolved, but race relations are better than ever before in our country.
Oh, that is okay. I get you. That's pretty good.
You see what I'm saying? See, race relations are probably an all-time high in our country. But racism, in order to stay relevant, has evolved as well to stay within the context of our system, our economic system, our legal justice system, political system, blah blah blah. So the good news is our race relations are at an all-time high. We don't have the situation where you have only black schools, or you have race relations between blacks. More blacks are moving into diverse areas, are working in different institutions where it's more corporate and things like that. So you have more blacks in areas. They might still be the minority, okay, but they're still in areas that we weren't in 10 years ago, 20 years ago,
Tennis,
things like that.
tennis, golf,
Right.
hockey. I met some.
Right.
I met some black hockey players.
My godson is a hockey
Your
player.
godson is a hockey. Is he like you talking about like official hockey or?
He plays hockey. He's 12 years
Oh,
old,
okay. Like, oh, I see what you're saying. Right.
but he deals
Yeah,
with
he
racism.
does.
He's 12.
Oh,
Yes.
what did he say?
You know what I'm
What did he
saying?
say he dealt with? If you remember.
Well, I know his mother because his mother I went to high school with his
Yeah.
mother, and she told me a lot of times he deals with the racism because he's a lot of times the only black on the ice. You know what I'm saying? Now, I don't know why his parents chose this sport, but he loves it. He plays it, but he has to deal with it, and he's 12. So a lot of times he's the only black on the ice. Um, and so because we're in circles that we're not used to being in, or people of other races are not used to us being in, um, that's uncomfortable for people. I mean, there's a book that by Robert Jones. It calls "The End of White Christian
Mm.
America." Very good. It's literally called "The End of White Christian America," and he's a religious scholar, author, and he talks about the differences between how in the 50s and 60s the Christian church to where the Christian church is going. And the Christian church is going more black and brown, Asian and things like that. And he makes a point that they did a study that most whites are 90% of the time around all whites. Think about that for a second. Most whites, 90% of them spend majority of the time around all whites. So where do they get their definition of blackness from? Television. That's it. So
And maybe
now
hearsay.
that
Maybe hearsay.
hearsay, hearsay. So now that we have a situation where we are becoming in our television, your television room, your schools, things like that, and now you're seeing us as people who from the old guard don't like that, so they're coming up with new ways to invoke or make people's fears of black people worser than it already has
Mm.
been. And I always tell people, I give this example: someone like Dylan Roof,
Yeah.
who goes into a church and kills 9 black people. Now this young man is 21 years old. He's part of the millennial generation, the most diverse generation in American history. How, as a 21-year-old, do you even get to the point that you think that blacks are this, and this, that you would go into a church and kill 9 people, and you're in the millennial, multiracial, multi-generational, multinational generation. How do you get indoctrinated like that? And you're a millennial. This is not an old 50-year-old guy on his couch in his mama's basement. This is a 21-year-old person who literally had all these crazy ideologies and goes into a church that embraced him and then ends up killing 9 people.
Right, the church
Like,
that
how-
embraced them.
Right. So how is someone of that age group, they've never dealt with, they didn't see the racism from the 50s and 60s. How do you even get that indoctrinated? You know, and it goes back to now it's evolving into digital, you know, where we're trying to reach people in a different way, because the old way of doing it is not working anymore. So the thing is now that we are now a society that has majority people of color in 2043. That's what the projection from the census is. The census projected in 2043 that we'll be majority of people of color. The scary part is, Matt, under the George Bush administration, they projected that we'll be a people of color in 2050. So under George W. Bush, they projected we'd be a majority of people of color in 2050. That is now sped up to 2043.
I see what you're saying.
So what you think going to happen in the next 10 years? These next 10 to 20 years are going to be a very interesting time in our country, because we're going to be a majority people of color in 20 years.
Wait.
Right.
Time out for a second. Time out, because that's too powerful. And I want to make sure that I'm capturing. Okay, so stay with me, because I don't think I have to hang up, but I want to stop this video, and then I want to reset everything. All hands on deck. If you are called the elect, make your decision to take your position, fulfill the commission. CCI. I used to come week after week, hear the word preached, digesting the milk and the meat, then I'd leave to get back to my regular life, that mediocre living that's between the wrong and the right. I would straddle the fence like I paid rent to be there. If a call to the altar was given, I would be scared, cause where the angels tread lightly, I would lead there. Then I hit some turbulence I wasn't prepared for. My life is in the trash like I'm Oscar the Bajana, opportune to bear Ray the stock, and the future looks shaky after shocking the grid lock my hand. Seems like ain't no power in my plans. Then one day I heard the word, mix it with faith, add rhythm and stir. Begin to see little faith, mustard seed, replant, recapitulate. Gotta get my act together. When you immerse yourself in verses, scripture reveals to you your purpose. Then I began to look around my church and saw his inheritance in all y'all. So I put my hands to the plow, crank my volume up to 10 because we're bumping it loud. Because the kingdom is advancing, it's advancing, it shall. And the Christian concept is all hands now. All hands on deck. CCI as a whole, we about to make steps towards a corporate outcome. Call it destination or expected end, cause before gestation you were elected, appointed, selected, anointed, collected, adjointed, connected. Don't avoid it, directed, don't void it, protected, be buoyant, perfected. Yo, you must do your part. You got something that we need, so don't hold it back. The contributions of your talent is gonna make it that much more valuable. What's more, what can I do for the church? Don't only come up in here with your hand out. You is on your mind and yet you wonder why you stand out. It's called assimilation and the 2 greatest commandments. You'll be in supply if you understand the demand is. Be a true seeker and an agent of the king, an ambassador, and what you are here for will bring enlightenment to the countenance of fellow believers and receivers of your word and deed. Yo, we will achieve the purpose as intended and the reason for our church existence. And what's the purpose for us coming if it ain't no mission? Plug yourself in and assist me. All hands on deck. Say it with me now. All hands on deck. position, fulfill the commission. CCI, all hands on deck. If you are called the elect, then make your decision to take your position, fulfill the commission. CCI, 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 all hands on deck. CCI, CCI, all hands on deck. If you are called the elect, then make your decision to take your position, fulfill the commission. CCI.